Control of the industrial facility at Karkand motivate this assault by US forces, where they find MEC forces marshaling to defend the industrial city and determined to meet this attack with stiff resistance. The terrain surrounding Karkand sufficiently opens to allow for sweeping fields of fire, but the open ground increases the danger posed by anti-vehicle missiles and sniping. It is thus vital for both sides to secure fire bases in Karkand's sheltered city center. This video is going to be a retrospective map analysis of the Strike at Karkand map from Battlefield 2. The map made a return to the series in Battlefield 2142, as well as Battlefield 3 as part of the Back to Karkand downloadable content. But this video will be focusing on the original Battlefield 2 version. We'll be looking at the real-life inspirations for the map, as well as the environment and layout of the map itself. We'll also be going over the flag points and equipment that both the USMC and MEC forces have at their disposal here. When doing research on the real-life inspiration for this map, the only thing I was able to find, according to the Battlefield fandom wiki page, is that Karkand is based off the real-life Kuwait city in the country of Kuwait. Now, while it is certainly possible that this is the city it's based off of, given that Kuwait City is a major port along the Persian Gulf, and many other maps in the game have taken place along the Gulf Coast, I don't know where the wiki's primary source for that information came from. Because of this, I believe it's possible that Karkand could have been inspired by any major Middle Eastern port, and not just Kuwait City. Another good example is the city of Karachi in Pakistan, which is home to the country's largest seaports. We hear many of the same ambient sounds from other urban maps like Road to Jalalabad and Mashtur City on Strike at Karkand, particularly the sounds of a war-torn city. But there are also sounds of the humming interior of the warehouse point, or windy coastal sounds around the harbor. The number of control point locations varies depending on what size version of the map one is playing on. Strike at Karkand has 3 map sizes, a 64-player, 32-player, and 16-player. I'll be focusing on the 64-player version, as the 32 and 16-player versions of the map are the same, except that they have less control points to capture due to their reduced play space and smaller player count. But I'll denote on the screen which control point locations are available on each versions of the map as I go through them. I'll quickly mention that the 16 and 32 player versions of the map has one control point that isn't on the 64 player version, and that is the market point. This is a conquest assault map, where one team acts as the attacker and another acts as the defender. On this map, the USMC are the attackers, and therefore have an uncapturable main base to start off from. They also start off with more tickets as well. And the MEC are the defenders, automatically controlling all the capturable points on the map. The 64-player version of Strike at Karkand has a total of 9 control points. The USMC main base is called the gas station, while the capturable MEC control points are the hotel, the square, the suburb, the train accident, the gatehouse, the warehouse, the cement factory, and the factory. And there are no neutral control points on this map. Many of the buildings on this map have ladders on them to give players access to the rooftops, and some can even be garrisoned and provide cover. For this video though, I'll only be going over the ones that are closest to the control points themselves. Strike at Karkand is a very foggy map, which is something I never noticed about it back when I used to play the game regularly in 2005, so it may be hard to see certain details from the overhead camera. The gas station is the uncapturable main base for the US team. To the north of this point are two other uncapturable points that the US team can spawn at, and I'll go over those after the gas station. The point has one entrance along the main road in the north. There are entrances in the east and west along the road, but those just go to the out-of-bounds zones of the map. The two main buildings here are the gas station itself and the repair shop. There are also two silos as well, and the one next to the gas station has a ladder on it that can be climbed. For the commander's support structures, the UAV trailer is behind the repair shop, and the radar station is south of the gas station building next to the road. For the vehicles that spawn here, one M1 Abrams tank spawns on the road south of the repair shop, one HMMWV light vehicle and LAV-25 APC spawn next to the pumps under the gas station, and another LAV-25 spawns on the road next to the gas station. One M249 LMG emplacement is also on the sandbags at the north entrance next to the repair shop. Now for the uncapped points that are just north of the gas station. There are two buildings that represent where players on the US team can choose to spawn at. The buildings can be accessed from all sides, but most players on the US team will want to push north into the city to engage the MEC team. The building in the west is surrounded by a brick wall that has two holes in it that players can move through. The two LW-155 artillery guns for the US team are located next to each of the buildings. No vehicles spawn here, and for the stationary emplacements, one M249 LMG is on a concrete barrier near each of the buildings. And a BGM-71 TOW AT launcher is in front of the wall near the west building. The hotel is the first capturable MEC-controlled point on the map. The point is well known for the amount of grenade spam that can occur between US and MEC forces at the start of the match. The main entrances to and from the point are along the road going north and south. However, infantry can use the alleyways between the buildings to maneuver through as well. And to get up to the flagpole itself, there are a couple of ladders and a set of stairs that infantry can use. There are also a couple of holes in the fences around the point that players can use to either assault it from or flank around it entirely. A couple of the buildings nearby have ladders on them that can be climbed in order to access the roofs and gain a high ground advantage on enemy troops below. No vehicles spawn at this point, and the only emplacement here is an LMG on a small concrete barrier next to the main road. The square is a second capturable point for the MEC team, and one of the most open points due to the lack of cover around it. The main entrances to the point are in the south and the east, with a hole in the brick wall to the west. There are a couple of stairs to the east and a hole in the metal fence that allow infantry to approach the square from that direction. The large building right next to the flagpole can be climbed using the ladders on it. The top of this building makes an excellent spot for troops to defend the point with from attackers. A few other buildings can be climbed as well, and two of them to the southeast can be garrisoned. One orange-striped building has a small hallway players can move through. And another large white painted building has a room that can be entered and steps that lead to the roof. Only one light vehicle will spawn here, no matter which team controls the point. And as for the stationary emplacements, one LMG is on a small concrete barrier near the flagpole, and an AT launcher is in the middle of the square itself. The Suburb is the third capturable MEC-controlled point on the far west end of the map. The two main entrances to the point are along the road in the south and the northeast, where the road splits to either go west to the train accident or south to the square. There is a hole in the brick wall east of the point nearby a set of stairs that infantry can use to climb up and down. No matter which team controls the point, only one light vehicle spawns near the low wall. For the stationary emplacements, one AT launcher is directly east of the flagpole, and an LMG is on some sandbags at the top of the house that can be climbed using the ladder on the side of it. The train accident is the fourth capturable MEC-controlled point on the map, named after the derailed train next to it. The point has three main entrances along the roads in the west, south, and east across the bridges. There is a hole in the fence just south of the flagpole, and some steps northeast of it that infantry can use. There's another orange-striped building next to the steps which has a hallway infantry can move through. At the top of the ramp is a small building that can be climbed using the ladder on it. And the boxcars can also be entered and provide some cover. The two guard towers west of the point can also be garrisoned, and the closest bridge has a couple of ladders that can be used to get out of the water with. The bridges can also be destroyed in order to prevent either team from crossing them. No matter which team controls the point, one light vehicle will spawn just north of the flagpole. For the stationary emplacements, one LMG is on a small concrete barrier north of the flagpole, and west of it is an AT launcher near the ramped road. The Gatehouse is the fifth capturable MEC-controlled point, across the river directly west of the train accident. The point has two main entrances along the road, one in the west and another in the east. It can also be accessed by infantry using the steps next to the radio tower in the south. There is a large warehouse, one guard post, 4 other utility buildings, and 3 silos here. These 2 buildings can be garrisoned by infantry, and to the south of the flagpole are a couple of holes in the metal fences for infantry to move through. And one of the silos has a ladder that can be climbed. Regardless of which team controls the point, just one light vehicle will spawn east of the flagpole between 2 basketball goals. And for the stationary emplacements, one LMG is in the guard post, and an AT launcher is next to some pipes directly south of the flagpole. The warehouse is the 6th capturable MEC-controlled point, southeast of the Gatehouse, and is the only interior point on the map. The point has 2 main entrances in the north and the south, from the point of view of the actual map, and not the current camera angle. Only one light vehicle spawns here, regardless of which team controls the point. The warehouse itself can also be entered using a small door on the east side of it. There's another small door on the north side, but that just leads into an empty room. And there is a small hole in the fence outside the south entrance. There are a few ladders and stairs that allow infantry to get up on the catwalks inside the building. The warehouse has a few crates, boxes, and shipping containers that players can use as cover. And the stationary emplacements are 2 LMGs around the flagpole. And an explosive red barrel is also next to the LMG on the concrete barrier. The cement factory is the 7th capturable MEC controlled point, just south of the warehouse and east of the factory. The main entrances to the point are in the northwest and west. There are also a couple of holes in the metal fence surrounding the point that infantry can use to access it with. There are also 3 ladders at the edge of the dock that infantry can use to climb out of the water with. A small shack and the cement factory building itself are the only structures here, closest to the flagpole. The building can provide cover for infantry to defend the point with. And the conveyor belt leads up to a ladder that can be climbed to get to the top of the smokestack. No matter which faction controls the point, one light vehicle will spawn next to the small shack. An LMG is on a small concrete barrier next to the shack as well, and an AT launcher emplacement is just west of it. The factory is the 8th and final capturable MEC controlled point on the map, and also acts as the main base for the team, due to the commander support structures being located here. The main entrances to the point are in the north and the west, from the point of view of the actual map and not the current camera angle. But there is a hole in the fence near the electrical grid that infantry can use to infiltrate the base with. Due to how zoomed in I had to make the camera for this point in order to see things without them being completely covered by the fog, some of the building and structures are out of the view, but I'll do my best to list all of them. There is a small guard post and 2 guard towers at the main entrance. The large factory building itself, which has a hallway that players can move through. The office building next to the flagpole has a ladder infantry can use to access the roof of it with. Four barracks, one of which is slightly outside the camera view. One large port crane south of the flagpole, which has a ladder on it that allows players to reach the top of it with. And 2 large smokestacks are east of the flagpole, and both have ladders on them that players can climb. For the commander support structures, the radar station is next to the factory building, and the UAV trailer is next to the guard tower near the north entrance. One D-30 artillery gun is near the guard post outside the base itself, and the other one is outside the base near the guard tower at the west entrance. No matter which faction controls the point, 1 tank and 1 APC spawn next to one of the barracks buildings. And another APC and light vehicle spawn next to the factory building itself. For the stationary emplacements, 1 LMG is in each of the 2 guard towers, and an AT launcher is also next to the factory building, southeast of the flagpole. So there are a couple of other locations on the map that are not control points, but that I do think are of interest to mention. So there is a bridge right by the gas station point that can be destroyed with explosives, assuming that one could live long enough to plant them in order to blow the bridge up. There are a couple of these wooden fences in the central areas of the city. These fences can be destroyed with various explosives, and open up new pathways for infantry and vehicles to move through. And just north of the bridges, next to the train accident, is a part of the river where the water is low. This area allows for all types of vehicles and infantry to cross it, if the bridges to the north are destroyed and unable to be repaired. Infantry and vehicles should try to cross the river quickly to avoid being cut down by enemy fire along the banks on the other side, as they fight their way across the battlefield of Strike at Karkand.